I returned from a business trip only to discover that my wife had changed the locks. She messaged me from my own couch saying, "I've found someone else." I took a deep breath, smirked, and responded, "Are you certain about that?" Then I walked.
Away. 4 days later, she was yelling over the phone.
After a grueling week away on business, I stepped through the threshold of what I once considered home, only to be greeted by an unsettling silence. The door had been replaced, the lock now unfamiliar, a stark symbol of betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound. My phone buzzed with a message from within the living room. Yes, the very same couch where I had spent countless evenings lost in thought, bearing the chilling words, "I've found someone else." A mix of disbelief and a strangely calm determination washed over me. I took a deep breath, letting the shock settle into a cool, measured composure. With a subtle smirk that belied the tumult of emotions within, I typed back, "Are you certain about that?" And with that single line, I turned away, stepping into a future that promised both uncertainty and the chance for rebirth. The following 4 days passed in a haze of silent reckoning. Each day, the altered door and changed lock served as a constant reminder of what had been lost. On the 4th day, as dusk settled and the city's neon lights flickered like distant memories, the phone rang. I answered, and on the other end, my wife's voice erupted, a mix of anger, desperation, and regret. She screamed about betrayal, lost trust, and the irrevocable unraveling of our union. Yet her words bounced off the wall of my newfound resolve, failing to disturb the calm that had taken root in me. In the quiet aftermath, I began to retrace the fragments of our shared history, dissecting every moment, every exchanged word, and every silent nod that might have foretold this inevitable downfall. I recalled the early days of our romance, the stolen glances, the whispered promises, the soft laughter shared in secret corners of our world. Now, as I wandered through the empty rooms of our once shared home, I saw nothing but echoes of a past that seemed as intangible as smoke. Determined to understand how our lives had unraveled so silently, I embarked on an investigation, not driven by rage, but by a desperate need for closure. I reached out to mutual friends and acquaintances, those who had once marveled at the perfection of our union, in search of clues. Their recollections hinted at subtle shifts, late nights at the office, unexplained absences, and a growing distance that I had foolishly ignored. In these shared anecdotes, I found hints of discontent woven into the fabric of our everyday life, a tapestry of neglect and unspoken grievances that neither of us had fully acknowledged. One evening, alone in what used to be our shared sanctuary, I confronted the stark reality of my existence. I sifted through old photographs, letters, and mementos, each one a silent witness to a love that had slowly withered under the weight of unspoken truths. It was in that reflective solitude that I realized the seeds of betrayal had been sown, long before the lock was changed. Perhaps in the intricate dance of love and betrayal, both of us had played our parts. My complacency had blinded me to the quiet unraveling, while she, in her pursuit of something new, discarded what we once held dear. The confrontation that followed was as inevitable as it was cathartic. I met her at a dimly lit cafe, a neutral ground where broken hearts meet to confront the remnants of shattered dreams. Her eyes, once bright with shared hopes, now mirrored a turbulent sea of regret and unresolved fury. We exchanged words that were as cold and calculated as the new lock on our door. I admitted my own failures, the silent shortcomings that had paved the way for her defection. In that moment, amid the clatter of cutlery and the murmur of distant conversations, I recognized that our story was not a simple tale of betrayal. It was a complex tapestry, woven from misunderstandings, unspoken expectations, and the inherent fragility of trust. As our conversation ebbed and flowed, a profound realization dawned upon me. There were no clear villains or heroes in our saga. Only two flawed individuals navigating a labyrinth of emotions, too vast to be captured by promises of forever. Her confession was laced with remorse, while mine carried an acceptance of my own limitations. We spoke of lost time and missed opportunities, of the painful truth that love, in all its forms, often demands that we let go even as we desperately cling on. That night, as I returned to the now unfamiliar solitude of my home, the weight of our exchange pressed down like the oppressive silence of an empty room. Sitting on the couch, the very stage upon which our shared dreams had once played out, I began to write. I poured the complexities of my heart onto paper, each word a step on the long road from betrayal to self-discovery. In those sleepless hours, I came to understand that true courage sometimes lies not in seeking revenge or validation, but in embracing the imperfections of life with quiet acceptance. I realized then that the changed lock was not merely a symbol of broken trust, it was a metaphor for the inevitable transformations that life demands. Every ending, as painful as it may be, holds within it the promise of a new beginning, a chance to rebuild, redefine, and ultimately forgive. In the weeks and months that followed, the story of that tumultuous period grew into a quiet legend among my friends. They would ask if I ever regretted my choices or wished for a return to the past. I would only smile, knowing that regret was a luxury I could no longer afford. Instead, I embraced the lessons that had emerged from the shattered fragments of what we once believed was unbreakable. One particularly rainy afternoon, I found solace in an old bookstore on the outskirts of the city, a haven for lost souls like myself. Wandering among the dusty shelves, I discovered a worn volume of poetry, its pages yellowed by time. It transported me back to the early days of our courtship, when my wife and I would spend hours reciting verses to each other, our voices weaving dreams in the quiet twilight. In that moment, the poetry became a bittersweet reminder of what we had cherished and what had been irrevocably altered. I purchased the book and lost myself in its verses for the rest of the day. Each line was a gentle caress that soothed the raw edges of my heart, speaking of impermanence, love, and loss. As evening fell and I closed the book, a sense of calm washed over me, a silent acknowledgement that even in the face of betrayal, there was grace to be found in accepting life's transient nature. With time, I began to rediscover aspects of myself that had lain dormant. I took up painting, an art I had abandoned amid the chaos of our shared life. My canvases became diaries of emotion, vivid strokes of color intermingled with dark, brooding hues that captured the spectrum of my inner turmoil. Through art, I found a language to express the inexpressible, transforming pain into something tangible, even beautiful. The creative process was not without its struggles. There were days when memories surged like tidal waves, threatening to overwhelm me. In those moments, I clung to the lessons learned from past storms, the fleeting nature of despair, the promise of dawn after the darkest night. I sought the company of fellow artists and kindred spirits, forming a small collective where creativity and vulnerability were celebrated. In our shared gatherings, amidst soft music and hushed conversations, I realized that healing was not a destination but a journey, a series of small, deliberate steps leading toward a broader horizon of understanding. A turning point arrived unexpectedly during a visit to an art gallery. Standing before a painting of a tumultuous seascape, with waves crashing in relentless fury, I was struck by the raw emotion captured in every brushstroke. The artist had distilled the eternal battle between chaos and calm onto the canvas. That moment I recognized my own life in the swirling colors, a tumult of emotions, a constant interplay of loss and renewal. That silent acknowledgement sparked within me a hope that even overwhelming sorrow could yield to rebirth. Emboldened by this realization, I began channeling my experiences into a series of art projects that told my story of transformation. I organized a modest exhibition in a small gallery, displaying pieces that ranged from the depths of despair to the heights of hopeful transcendence. The intimate show resonated with many who had walked similar paths. Strangers approached me, their eyes glistening with empathy, sharing fragments of their own heartbreaks and triumphs. In those heartfelt exchanges, I discovered that art had the power to bridge the divides of individual suffering, forging connections in the shared language of resilience. Through these creative endeavors, I gradually redefined my identity. I was no longer merely the betrayed husband. I had become a man reborn through adversity, a soul tempered by the fires of loss. I embraced the notion that every heartbreak is a crucible, and every wound a lesson in resilience. The changed lock on my door, once a brutal emblem of betrayal, had transformed into a symbol of life's impermanence and the constant invitation to evolve. In quiet moments of reflection, I began to appreciate the small rituals of daily life. A steaming cup of coffee at dawn, a leisurely walk in the park, the comforting rustle of pages in a well-loved book. These simple acts anchored me in the present, even as memories of the past fluttered like fragile moths in the dim light of recollection. Each day became an exercise in embracing both the beauty and the pain of existence, a delicate balance between holding on and letting go. Late at night, as the world around me slumbered, I found solace in the solitude of my study. Surrounded by artifacts of a bygone era, a faded photograph here, a forgotten letter there, I would sit and write, pouring my heart onto paper in an unfiltered stream of consciousness. It was in those silent, introspective hours that I began to understand the profound truth. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning, and every scar is a testament to the strength that emerges from overcoming life's darkest trials. In the quiet moments before sleep, when the only sound was the rhythmic beating of my own heart, I would reflect on the paradox of our existence. I came to see that while love may falter and trust may be shattered, the capacity to rebuild and to transform remains an indomitable force within us all. This journey, marked by heartbreak, artistic rebirth, and gradual healing, reshaped my understanding of what it means to live authentically. I learned that true strength is not found in the absence of suffering, but in the courage to rise above it time and time again. Today, I stand not as a victim of circumstances, but as a survivor and a creator, forever changed by the events that once threatened to break me. The changed locks, the whispered betrayals, the angry phone calls, all have woven themselves into the tapestry of my life, each thread a reminder that even in the face of profound loss, hope can be reborn. As I continue forward, I carry with me the lessons of resilience, the beauty of impermanence, and the unwavering belief that every ending is simply the prelude to a story yet to be written. In the quiet hours of early morning, as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, I often found myself marveling at the intricate, unpredictable journey of life. Every challenge, every heartbreak, and every moment of unexpected beauty taught me that we are all, in our own way, works in progress. The scars we bear are not symbols of weakness, but emblems of our strength and our capacity to endure. I began to chronicle these realizations in long, thoughtful essays, pages filled with reflections on loss, renewal, and the transformative power of time. My writings evolved into a collection that resonated with readers from every corner of the world, each letter and comment a testament to our shared human experience. As the months turned into years, I came to cherish the transformative power of time. I began to understand that life's trials, however painful, often lead us down unexpected paths of growth and self-realization. In quiet moments of reflection, I would recall the day I discovered the changed lock on my door as a turning point, a moment that shattered my illusions and forced me to confront the transient nature of human relationships. I often wondered about the nature of destiny and whether every heartbreak carried within it the potential for a grander narrative. During one particularly serene evening, I found myself sitting by a small lake on the outskirts of the city. The water, still and reflective, mirrored the endless sky above, its surface punctuated only by the occasional ripple. As I gazed into its depths, I realized that life, much like that lake, is a mirror of our inner selves, sometimes calm, sometimes disturbed, but always truthful. In that moment, the gentle lapping of water against the shore and the whisper of the wind through the trees became a symphony of renewal, reminding me that every ending paves the way for a fresh beginning. I began to compile these thoughts into a series of essays, each capturing the ephemeral beauty of human experience. My writings became a refuge not only for me, but for countless others who reached out with their own stories of loss and redemption. This outpouring of empathy reinforced my belief that the most profound transformations occur when we dare to expose our vulnerabilities and allow others to share in our journey. Every word written, every stroke of paint, and every quiet melody has contributed to the mosaic of my existence. I now understand that life is not defined by a single moment of betrayal or a solitary act of forgiveness, but by the continuous interplay of choices and changes. In the grand theater of existence, each of us is both the playwright and the protagonist, crafting our narratives with the raw materials of experience, pain, and joy. As I move forward, I carry with me the lessons of the past and the promise of tomorrow, ever aware that the story of my life is an ever-evolving masterpiece, a testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of transformation, and the enduring capacity of the human heart to love, to learn, and to begin anew.